like a Procter & Gamble or something, you still need somebody to push it. And everyone's looking at influencers nowadays. It's what they're watching, so you got to find
It's what they're watching.
Yeah.
And who I'm watching is going to be Richard Greening of DDC FPO. He is the Chief Information Officer, and he's here to join us. And I might be biased here, but I always have great conversations with Richard on and off camera, so I'm excited for this chat. Richard, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for the invite, guys.
And diving in, speaking of things that are announcing, it's F3. Everyone likes to, we have cool announcements, cool tech and everything, but one of the big one was DDC Sync last year. And so looking at this year, what's the big announcement that y'all have recently done?
The big announcement for us this week, because we'd like to save it, going back to like the FreightWaves, this show in particular is one I enjoy coming to see because it's so many tech people, and yes, there's maybe some competition in the room, but also there's great minds. So there's a lot of people with lots of great ideas. So we kind of saved our announcement on our update to auto extraction and structuring of data for this week because again, from my perspective, it's just such a fun event, and getting people's view and how it's received when you're actually in the flesh. And you can see people, like how they react. Some people will be like, oh, you got us, that's really good. Or, or going, oh, that's interesting, what does that mean and stuff. So the big announcement this week is auto extraction and structuring of data. And it's a continuation of a product that we've had for the last 10 years. It's not something we've been doing new. What we've seen is two things really. Obviously, last year we announced Sync here, which was the in-cab technology. That was the foundation to some of the changes we needed to make to this auto extraction product. The other thing is just the acceleration in artificial intelligence, right? Which is, I'm sure everyone's talking about, and everyone here this week has been talking about too. It's just an exciting time.
It's certainly an exciting time. I spent way too much time, I can tell you, on ChatGPT and just generating random images that my mind can think of. And I know that's not the intended use of AI, but it's just one of the entertaining aspects of it.
So what's the first image that comes to mind to you now from that work you did? I'm putting you on the spot.
I may have asked ChatGPT to generate an image of a fire-breathing blue whale jumping out of the ocean.
That's very insightful.
It was majestic. But getting back on track, when we're looking at what DDC is doing, especially with auto extraction and structuring, what does that entail and how does it fit over there?
Okay, so we're primarily a service provider. We've been in business 34 years now. So what's interesting when we develop technology, a lot of the time we use it internally first to sort of grow our own efficiencies. And then we only bring things to market when there's a relevance. Because actually taking a product to market and productizing it is a lot more work than just offering a service. So what we used to do and what we do primarily is so for the LTL industry, for example, we process freight bills. So what auto extraction does, or what this service does, is it removes the keying work for either our agents or billing teams. And it's something we can now open up. We found a way to do it in a much more succinct way, in a way that we can embed it into a carrier's processes really quickly and get really good results fast. So there's not this big level of development where you're not starting to see results for 3, 6, 9 months. As soon as we've done the setup, we've configured it, set up with your TMS, we've got all of the feeds you want to come through, you're getting that value straight away. And ultimately what we're doing is taking away the keying work. If the TMS system's got the ability to give us lookup tables, we can verify that table. So it's not just key data, it's verified data too. And then we have like a machine learning loop that comes in that basically we get a copy of every completed record so we can see what we got right and what we didn't. And then our system learns, as everyone's system learns these days, right? Where it just gets smarter and smarter and smarter. It's just amazing how quick this stuff is moving and how quick it's fasting and the levels of accuracy we're getting to.
And that kind of brings into data, structured versus unstructured data. And I remember a little bit back in my old classes and stuff, it's always, the pain is you take unstructured and you have to structure it. But with the AI and with the software and everything going on now, is that something where you don't really need a person anymore? How do you, how does it work? What's structured versus unstructured for anyone joining us? And then kind of what does the tech do in order to help that?
Sure. I think a lot of people nowadays understand what unstructured data is, but they don't necessarily put it into the principle of logistics. So I've been in the logistics industry for 25 years, And if I really put a number on how much is now structured, you'd be surprised how much of it is still unstructured. And the reason being is it's the amount of data that flows through numbers of different parties, right? If you're one company and you take an order from end to end and it's all in one system, that data's structured, right? From the first record that's created, that data is now whatever system it goes into, if it's the invoice system, if it's a service, customer service system, if all the data's being mapped all the way through and no one has to do any duplicate entry, right, then that's structured data because it was structured from the start. The second that data needs to be rekeyed or someone needs to take data and copy it somewhere else or whatever, it becomes unstructured again. So when you look at our industry, the numbers are 80 to 90% of the data in logistics is still unstructured. And if you break that up, the bit that is structured is more like the invoicing side and the back office side of a carrier. Operations is pretty much all unstructured because as soon as you have a bill of lading, even if you've got fields set up on your bill, right, as soon as you give that bill to someone, if you're not passing that data in a way that they can work with it straight away, it's unstructured again.
And when we're talking about applications here, so there's this huge drive in this industry to go with a standardization on the digital side. How does this kind of complement or really pair with e-bill of lading or really that drive in the industry right now?
Yeah, it's a common misconception because DDC, we are one of our services we offer is freight billing. They're like, oh, won't this you're not relevant anymore? Like, furthest thing from the truth. I think Elon Musk said this week about AI, people worrying about it taking away jobs. And when you look at the data in history, everything creates jobs. I heard someone the other day saying accountants, when Excel came along, it didn't mean we didn't need accountants anymore. Right? All of these principles are the same. It's the same with us. We're a member of the LTL Digital Council, for example, and they're working really hard at the moment to try to standardize that format. The closer they get to standardizing that format, the easier our job gets as far as being able to provide data back, which means when we work with new clients, integrating with them becomes much easier. If you're someone that's looking at that format now and you've made a pledge to do it, that's something we can help you with. We've done it. We've built, we're up to date with that because we know people just need to be able to communicate with each other. Going back to the first point and how we're still relevant, at the start, you still need to structure the data. So the big thing that, say, our service offers is obviously we can take EDI messages, restructure them, that's the easy bit. But the big thing we do is obviously from images. So if it's from sync and it's the driver in cab, we can now process that bill in real time as the driver's done a pickup. We can structure that data and have it back to the carrier's TMS in seconds. And now all of a sudden, that's so much more efficient for them because they've got visibility. And it's not just efficient in the fact of misrouting and they've got happier customers. It's also, if you've got an ESG quota to fill, environmentally, you're being more efficient in your warehouse, you're being more efficient on the road. The efficiencies are everywhere. It's something that really carriers need to step back and just evaluate that because it's the lifeblood of their business.
I love the unstructured part. I felt like I dealt with unstructured data when someone sends me an email and then I have to manually enter the order. And here I am structuring. So that's when we're looking at the AI, that's kind of the next step is I no longer have to dedicate coordinators and extra personnel who have to literally manually input this. This is done. I can go do other jobs because there's too much work to do to begin with when you're doing these
Absolutely.
roles.
So you look at things like Microsoft Copilot that's now coming out and the idea of it reading through your emails, mimicking a response for you, or even going into your environment to pull out the documents to find the right answers. There's still a trigger point where you need to sanity check that, right, before it's sent out. It's not at the point that we can trust computers yet in any of this stuff where it can be completely automated. If it's got value or it could potentially do damage, therefore there's a risk, then you absolutely still need that person there just to be that trigger. But from your time, if it can do a really good job of mimicking you, why wouldn't you use that? Like, it's no different to why wouldn't you use a sat-nav in a car? Why wander around aimlessly or having to pull a map out every 20 minutes when you're lost when your phone or your car can tell you where to go, right?
Makes all the sense in the world. Yeah. And Richard, you just dropped a bomb on us with this new offering that you are releasing here. And I almost feel like I'm excited about this, but I have to ask, what's next?
So there's been a journey. It started 5 years ago. It started with sync. The key for us for sync was to make sure that there was no delay in getting the data. So now you can see what we're talking about with auto extraction. one of the things we had to rework from our old solution that was largely templated, right, and now it's not, it's now completely dynamic. We can take something that's an image, and we can now extract that data in real time, so that they're getting that back. And then, how we connect that with our clients is again, that's what we're offering. Where we're working to, and maybe hopefully by this time next year, and some of the things we've got in the work, we really are trying to be a digital end-to-end provider for our clients so that they can grow and develop and trust us with their digital transformation.
And for folks wanting to find out more, even partner, just get in contact, what's the best way to reach out?
If it's me directly, LinkedIn. So you can find me and Richard Greening at DDC Group and DDC FPO. And then our website is ddcfpo.com.
Excellent, Richard. Thanks so much for joining us. Always a pleasure having you on.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.